All right, you can take it to the bank. Nate Scheelhaase is the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. You heard it here. Nate Scheelhaase is getting his job. You're going to hear that there's an agreement today. An agreement will be made today. Nate Scheelhaase will be the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and that's just the direction that this thing is going to go. And I believe he's ready to work with Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders fits the mold. I think this is going to be a great partnership.
My advantages that I would speak for Scheelhaase is, first of all, I like the fact that he was a quarterback. I like the fact that he was an offensive coordinator in college. I love the fact that he is in the McVay tree, and I love super duper uber love the fact that he is the passing game coordinator. The one thing that I've been wanting for the Cleveland Browns since the beginning of the time is I want to turn on the 1 o'clock game, because the Browns be playing in the 1 o'clock, and I want to see our routes, and then I want to turn the 4 o'clock game, and I want to see the same level of routes. Like, ooh, the Browns, I want to see them same routes.
What's going on, football fans? We've got some massive news breaking out of Cleveland right now. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around for every single second of this, because the Browns are about to make a move that could change everything. So here's the deal. Multiple sources are now reporting that the Cleveland Browns are flying out to Los Angeles today to meet with Rams passing game coordinator Nate Scheelhaase for what could be the final interview before offering him the head coaching position. And guys, this isn't just speculation anymore. This is actually happening, and it's happening fast.
Together, we got to get into all of it. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype the video. Let's get right into things here on UCSS first.
In Los Angeles, meeting with the Rams passing game coordinator today for his second interview, the first in-person interview with Scheelhaase. Guys, do you think if he is their guy, if the Browns have identified Nathan Scheelhaase as the head coaching candidate they want to become the next head coach of this team, do you think they leave LA without signing a contract, or at least agreeing to a contract?
Now, before we dive deep into this, let me paint you a picture of where we're at right now. The Browns have been searching for their next head coach, and they've had their eyes on several candidates. We're talking about Mike Vrabel initially, then there was talk about Ben Johnson, and they've interviewed guys like Jim Schwartz and Robert Saleh. But here's the thing that's got everyone talking right now. Scheelhaase might be the guy they've been waiting for all along. Let me tell you why this makes so much sense. Nate Scheelhaase comes from the Sean McVay coaching tree, and if you've been paying attention to the NFL over the last few years, you know that tree has been producing some elite offensive minds. We're talking about guys who understand modern football, who know how to scheme players open, who get how to use motion and create mismatches. This isn't your grandfather's NFL anymore, and the Browns clearly understand that. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. There's this massive connection between Scheelhaase potentially becoming the head coach and the Browns possibly drafting Shedeur Sanders with one of their high picks. Think about it for a second. If you're bringing in an offensive-minded coach from the McVay system, a guy who's been working with Matthew Stafford in Los Angeles, doesn't it make perfect sense to pair him with a young quarterback who has elite arm talent and can run that same style of offense? Let me break down what we're hearing from people who are connected to this situation. The Browns flew out to LA for this interview, which is significant in itself. You don't just hop on a plane to the West Coast unless you're serious about a candidate. This isn't a Zoom call, this isn't a phone conversation, this is face-to-face, let's get this done type of meeting. And here's what's got people buzzing. There's a very real possibility that Scheelhaase doesn't leave Los Angeles without a deal in place. Now, I'm not saying it's guaranteed to happen today, but the urgency is real. The Browns know that other teams might be interested. The Raiders still have their head coaching vacancy, and they've got the #1 overall pick. That's an attractive situation for any coach. But let's talk about what Scheelhaase brings to the table that has the Browns so interested. First off, he's been coaching in one of the most innovative offensive systems in football. The Rams under Sean McVay have consistently been one of the top offenses in the league. They know how to use pre-snap motion to create advantages. They know how to run play action effectively. They know how to protect young quarterbacks while still being aggressive downfield. Second, Scheelhaase has shown he can develop quarterbacks and work within a system that values analytics and modern football thinking. This aligns perfectly with what the Browns front office, led by Andrew Berry, has been trying to build. They want a coach who understands that football in 2025 is different than it was even 5 years ago.
If they don't have a deal by the end of the day, I'm not really sure why not. The Steelers were looking at him, but obviously they've made their selection. I don't know that any other teams are really talking to him, right?
The Raiders.
Okay. Well, then, I mean, if you're him, maybe you want to wait and hear Vegas out. If you like that situation better, they got the number 1 pick. But I tend to think that I think it's within the realm of possibility, within reason, certainly, that there's a deal done by the end of the day.
Now let's connect this to the Shedeur Sanders situation, because this is where things get fascinating. If you've watched Shedeur play at Colorado, you know he's got some serious talent. The kid can make every throw. He's got excellent anticipation. He processes information quickly. But he's also a quarterback who would thrive in a system that emphasizes timing, rhythm, and getting the ball out quickly. Sound familiar? That's exactly what the McVay offense does. Matthew Stafford isn't back there holding the ball forever. He's getting it out on time, hitting receivers in rhythm, and when he does take shots downfield, they're calculated and usually off play action. This is the kind of system that would maximize what Shedeur does well while minimizing some of the concerns people have about his game. Think about it this way. Shedeur Sanders in a Shedeur offense would look similar to what we see from the Rams. Quick game to get the ball out fast, motion to create confusion and easy reads, a solid running game to keep defenses honest and set up play action, and then those explosive plays downfield when the defense relaxes. It's a recipe that's worked in LA, and there's no reason it couldn't work in Cleveland. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. The Browns have Deshaun Watson under contract. They're paying him a ton of money. How does Shedeur fit into this? Well, here's the reality, and this might be tough for some Browns fans to hear. That Watson situation hasn't worked out the way anyone hoped. The injuries, the performance, the drama. At some point, you have to look forward and figure out what's next. If the Browns are sitting there at pick 2 or pick 3 in the draft, and Shedeur Sanders is available, and you've just hired an offensive-minded coach who could maximize his talents, that's a decision that becomes very interesting very quickly. You're not just drafting a quarterback, you're drafting a quarterback who fits what your new head coach wants to do. That's alignment. That's a plan. Let me also address something that's been floating around. Some people are saying Shedeur doesn't have head coaching experience, so this is a risk. And yeah, technically that's true. But let's be real for a second. Almost every great head coach in the league right now was a first-time head coach at some point. Sean McVay had never been a head coach before the Rams hired him. Kyle Shanahan hadn't been a head coach before San Francisco. Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. The list goes on. What matters isn't whether you've had the title before. What matters is whether you have the vision, the leadership ability, the football knowledge, and the capacity to build a culture. And from everything we're hearing about Shedeur, he checks those boxes. He's known as a high-energy guy. He connects with players. He's got that offensive creativity that modern NFL offenses require.
Today that Nate Scheelhaase is the next head coach of the Cleveland Browns. They may not come to a deal. We may not find out who the next head coach is for a few days. So I wanted to ask this before we got there. If you could design an offensive system to best suit Shedeur Sanders' skill set, assuming for this conversation the Browns go into next season with Shedeur as their starting quarterback, if you could design an offense to best fit his skill set, what do you think that offensive system would look like?
Well, I think the offensive system, despite what people say.
Here's another angle to consider. The Browns have been through so much chaos over the years. They've had coaches come and go. They've tried the veteran coach route. They've tried the defensive-minded coach. They've tried different approaches. Maybe what they need is someone who brings fresh ideas, someone who represents where the league is going rather than where it's been. And if you pair that with a young quarterback like Shedeur Sanders, you're essentially hitting the reset button while still trying to win now. You've got talented pieces on defense, you've got some weapons on offense, you add a creative offensive coach and a talented young quarterback, and suddenly you've got a foundation to build on for the next decade. Now, I want to talk about the timeline here because it matters. The Browns are meeting with Scheelhaase today. The NFL draft is coming up in late April. Free agency starts in March. If Cleveland is going to make this move, they need to do it soon so the new coach can start building his staff, evaluating the roster, and preparing for the draft. This is why there's so much urgency around this meeting. The Browns can't afford to wait around and let other teams swoop in. They need their guy locked in so they can start building the future. And if that guy is Scheelhaase, and if the plan involves potentially drafting Shedeur Sanders, then the dominoes need to start falling now. Let me paint you the scenario that could unfold over the next few weeks. Browns hire Scheelhaase. He comes in and immediately starts putting together his staff, probably bringing in some offensive coaches who understand the system. They evaluate the roster and identify what they need. They go into free agency and maybe add a veteran receiver or two, shore up the offensive line. Then draft day comes, and if Shedeur is there when they pick, they pull the trigger. Suddenly, you've got a young coach and a young quarterback growing together. You've got an offensive system that's proven to work in today's NFL. You've got a team that can start building an identity around something positive and forward-thinking rather than constantly trying to fix past mistakes. Of course, nothing is guaranteed. Maybe the meeting doesn't go well. Maybe Scheelhaase decides he wants to wait and see what happens with the Raiders' job. Maybe the Browns decide they want to go in a different direction. But based on everything we're hearing right now, this feels real. This feels like it's happening. And you know what? For Browns fans who have been through so much disappointment over the years, this actually feels like a reason to be excited. Not because it's a splash hire of some big-name coach, but because it's a smart hire. It's a hire that makes sense schematically. It's a hire that aligns with modern football. It's a hire that could pair perfectly with a quarterback prospect who has legitimate talent. So keep your eyes on this situation over the next 24 to 48 hours. If we start hearing reports that Scheelhaase has agreed to terms, you know what's coming next. The focus immediately shifts to the draft and whether Shedeur Sanders becomes part of this new era in Cleveland. This could be the beginning of something special in Cleveland, or at minimum, it's the Browns trying to build something with an actual plan, rather than just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks. And honestly, after everything that franchise and those fans have been through, they deserve a front office and coaching staff that has a clear vision for the future. What do you think about this potential hire? Does Scheelhaase make sense for the Browns? Would you want to see Shedeur Sanders running his offense in Cleveland? Drop your thoughts down in the comments because I want to hear what you're thinking about this situation. And if you want to stay updated on all the latest NFL news, coaching moves, and draft coverage, make sure you smash that subscribe button right now. We're going to be all over this story as it develops, and you don't want to miss a single update. Hit that notification bell too so you're the first to know when we drop new content. This is going to be a wild ride, folks. The Cleveland Browns are making moves, and we're going to be here covering every single step of the way. Let's see what happens.